Jury is doing jumping jacks with the judge so they can wake up. Well, not exactly, but at one point the judge did make a motion like this, made the whole jury stand, stretch out, and then sit back down. Between the groans over the time, I heard one juror say, "Oh no," when they mentioned how long the clip would be. Between all of those different kind of comments and their expressions, this is a jury you can really track and see when they are engaged and when they're not. Brenda, I know you're back there with Marcia White. I'm really interested as to what she has to say. It seemed odd being in the courtroom, hearing so much expression from the jury. Is this unusual?
Yes, it is. You don't see this very often. You don't see the jury's reaction so blatantly, but the judge is doing a great job trying to keep them calm and focused. I might have objected to any comments being made by the jury that somehow this is going to influence the outcome, particularly when the detective responded to the juror. I would have objected.
Yeah, you think that will come back to haunt this case?
It could. It could. It looks like they're all in the same boat together, and so it's not a good atmosphere in the courtroom. I would suggest that perhaps they make a comment about that or an instruction from the judge.
I'm going to bring in the other half of our expert panel here, Jeff Hollinger, out in DeKalb County at the courthouse there with attorney Steve Byrne. Steve, let me just ask you your reaction to the jury's reaction to that very long videotape, having to watch it. I mean, their very visible reaction to it. Is this a good thing, a bad thing? Isn't this what the attorneys want?
I think it was a little unusual to have such a reaction from the jury so early in the trial. When you have long trials, many weeks or months long, then you get jurors who start to act out a little bit and maybe misbehave. But to have the jury be so outspoken so early in the trial is very unusual.
You know what? Let's move on to the very dramatic testimony that got everybody's rapt attention this afternoon. That is the former close friend Shayna Citron. Very dramatic there on the stand. Tell me, Steve, what was your reaction to it? Is she a credible witness? What did you think of what transpired this afternoon?
Well, the state was trying to get inside of Andrea Sneiderman's mind, and who better than her best friend who shared so many intimate details. It was riveting testimony, and it was calculated to occur at the end of the day, so the jury went home thinking just what they had just seen.
And also predicted, Brenda and Marcia, that J. Tom Morgan would now become involved as cross-examining Shayna.
That's right. J. Tom Morgan, the former district attorney of DeKalb County, well known around these parts, very experienced attorney. When he made that objection, we knew who was going to be taking Shayna Citron on tomorrow.
And Marcia, come in on this.
The jury, I'll tell you something, I found her over dramatic about the entire situation. I don't know how the jury will interpret this, but I think she was dramatic, but the jury was left with a dramatic moment in the courtroom that day.
How do you look at this witness and not factor in that she may have an axe to grind?
It's hard to say.
Andrea Sneiderman, given what happened in the last trial.
Absolutely. This is a question that's going to come out in cross-examination. I think Steve is right about J. Tom Morgan going to get in now and really start making something happen.
Right. And what do you make of the very dramatic exit from the witness stand, having to walk all the way around Andrea so as not to bypass her?
This could be good. This could be bad. I think that was not good for the prosecution for her to show that type of emotion. She should have been much more stoic and walked right out as if she was really serious about her testimony. I found her testimony questionable.
All right, Marcia Shein, we're going to come back to you hopefully. Coming up next, the top cop in Clayton County in court. And all right. DeMarco, thanks so much. We are going back to the Andrea Sneiderman trial. Want to go to our panel again, our panel of experts, attorney Marcia Shein, who's here in the studio, Jeff Hollinger, attorney Stephen Byrne, who's out there in DeKalb County at the courthouse there. Marcia, just want to further talk to you some more about the very interesting testimony of Shayna Citron. This is the woman who was the best friend of Andrea Sneiderman and is no longer so. That sort of fell apart, their friendship in the Hemi Newman trial. And so now this woman gets on the stand this afternoon. Everybody snaps too, because they've really kind of been asleep watching this 3-hour-long videotape this morning. But then she gives this dramatic testimony with tears and everything to go along with it. Marcia, you were really bothered by the dramatics of this testimony.
I thought that if you're going to be a witness for the prosecution, you should be confirming your position in a real responsible way. The emotion and the dramatics seemed fake to me, or seemed played on.
I mean, she's the darkness in
she's testifying a lot of drama about what she interpreted it to be, and not what was actually going on at that moment. She's trying to interpret that there's an affair when there's no evidence that she said there was one.
Yeah, Steve, out to you there with Jeff Hullinger again talking about Shayna Citron. And I asked earlier, you know, was she a credible witness? I mean, do you really think that jurors sitting there thought that this was a sincere person who was speaking authentically?
I was a little concerned about her preparation. I thought that maybe the prosecutor who was questioning her had not really talked to her in great detail and gone over the exact questions and the way to testify, which we oftentimes do with our witnesses. So I was a little surprised at the drama being a little bit off-putting for someone who was so important to the prosecution.
Stephen, if you are going to be the defense attorney here and you're going to be forced to cross-examine her, what sort of tack do you take?
That's a good question, Jeff. I think that we're going to take the tact that there is some sort of motive for her testifying the way she did. We have to accept the fact that they were good friends. I don't think there's any question about that, but something changed, and Shayna Citron is no longer a friend, and you have to be able to expose the reason why.
This is a case that certainly feels like a murder case, doesn't it? The only missing element here is the medical examiner testimony.
I think so, and that's why this case has been called to last 2 or 3 weeks. This is like sitting through a murder trial.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right, Marcia, I'm going to let you have the last word on this.
That's all right. They're right. This is exactly what's happened with this witness. It's dramatic, but it's not necessarily significant evidence for the prosecution.
You call it a great due process case. What do you mean by that?
Oh, yeah, it is. You get everybody spinning what's going on in the courtroom in their own direction. The prosecution gets an opportunity, and you think that this is the case the prosecution's going to win, and then all of a sudden the defense comes up, and all of a sudden you say, well, it's not quite as significant as the prosecution said it was. So you're getting a great due process analysis here.
All right. Well, we'll continue, of course, to give you complete coverage of it. You can follow us always on 11alive.com, and you can follow it as well on Twitter using #Andrea Sneiderman. We'll be back in just a moment with a final look at our forecast.